Okay, we are recording. Welcome to the November OASN Quality Committee meeting. On the line with us, besides Margie Kistner, I have Pam Richmond, who is one of your OASN quality chairs, and Vicki will probably be joining us also. Pam, any opening comments?
Well, just happy belated Thanksgiving, and thanks for joining us today in what will be a very busy season for us.
Thank you, Pam. Well, we're going to move ahead. I do want to preface that we have been having some computer issues at Strategic Healthcare the last couple of days. So if you see things looking strange on my screen, that is why. But I have minimized all the documents that we will be using today. So I'm hoping that we're able to get to them. Margie, can you see the document on the screen?
Yes, I can. It's very small.
It's very small, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Better?
Better. It's still hard to read the names of the facilities.
Okay. Let me see if I can adjust that. Better?
Better. Can you try one more?
Okay, 125. How's that?
I think that's good.
Okay. I don't know if we have the whole, I apologize. So Margie, do you want to kind of reintroduce what we've been doing now? This is only the second quarter of these. Quarter one, you did attend our meeting and talk about the changes on this report and answer any questions. We thought it would be good for you to attend again today and talk about this report and the interpretation of the report and take questions and answers.
Great, happy to do so, and glad to be a part of your monthly meeting today. So what you're looking at on screen happens to be one of 5 different reports. And you know what? I'm going to ask you to take it back down to 100%.
Okay.
And these reports do cover, each one of them covers a subset of your full core set of metrics. And it, depending on what the title is, so this one happens to be Nursing Home Compare Metrics. If you scroll down a little bit on the document, at the bottom of the page, it says which metrics are included in this graph, and you can see that there are 5 metrics that make up this aggregate that you're looking at above. And what we decided to do a while back was to take a look at that grouping of metrics and ask ourselves 2 questions. Number one, is your organization meeting the benchmark that has been set by the network? And then number 2, based on last quarter, has that metric improved or worsened over time? And so what you're seeing in the graph itself is a Pareto chart from highest performing from the left towards the right. And it's color-coded, so you've got your dark blue and your light blue, which represent those metrics that have either dark blue met the benchmark and improved since the last quarter, or light blue met the benchmark and worsened. And if it stayed the same, it would be considered improved, by the way. And that's where you're going to get those bars that show you, counting up to 5, those 5 metrics put together. So the reason that, even though it says met benchmark and worsened, should not concern the organization because it's still above the benchmark. And so that's why you're going to see them resonating above 0. Those items that are below 0 are in light gray and dark gray. So those that did not meet the benchmark, but guess what? They improved. If you're seeing a light gray bar next to your facility name, you should feel somewhat comfortable that it's moving in the appropriate direction for it to eventually turn blue if indeed you continue that trend. If it is a darker gray, that particular metric is one that you would see as an opportunity for improvement. So if you take those and you put the 5 together, this is what it ends up looking like in rank order. It does not show you, if you're concerned about a couple that are in the dark gray, did not meet benchmark and worsened, you wouldn't be able to tell which ones they are. In that case, what we've done is we've opened up the CPMT database in total and opened it up in terms of unblinded it so that you're able to go in, and in this case, under Nursing Home Compare, I would first look and find out where my facility landed. If I have something I want to research, I would probably also want to take a look at which facilities are doing exceptionally well, and then go to the CPMT and look up one or two or three or all 5 of these metrics and see where I fell next to others to be able to understand which ones of those metrics are ones you'd want to work on. So all this then becomes is more of a, and that's why it's quarterly, it's more of a snapshot view to give you a sense of thumbs up or thumbs middle, thumbs down on your opportunity to do deeper analysis. So just to walk through all, make sure you know that all of them are here. This one is the Nursing Home Compare. I don't know if you have the other ones handy. Did everyone receive this in advance of the meeting today?
No, they did not.
Okay.
I will be sending those out after the meeting, and I sent them to Joanne Formal to post them on in the member section of the OASN website. So they'll have places to access them. Some of you on the line, when your emails contain too many attachments, or I've sent the email to multiple people in a contact list, I am hearing that those are bouncing back. If you do not get them, let me know, and you can also look at them on the website as soon as they're posted. So the one I just put up, Margie, is the hospitalization tracking tool.
Right. So this one has 10 different metrics that you can see on the bottom. Just a couple other logistics things I'd like to mention. Over in the upper left-hand corner, these reports are always going to come out looking the same, but the date should give you a reference point. So we're looking right now at Q2 data, and it's compared to Q1 data. So if you didn't and or weren't participating in Q1, you probably don't have enough data to show a trend. You might be above the benchmark, but it would be those 2 variables put together. So always check the date to make sure you're looking at the most current one, and this one is the most current, even though we're in Q4. The second thing is, and I'm sure you may be just as frustrated as I am, when I look at this on a piece of paper, it's very hard to read because the network is large and there's over 80 facilities, I believe. So I did some futzing around with PDFs, and at least from my computer, I was able to, and it's not the document itself, you'd have to go into your computer settings, and I was able to change the size by changing the size of the piece of paper to a legal size, and then I was able to read it much better. So I wanted to give you that tip as you may be printing these for other purposes. Of course, online you can always increase the size and go real close to find which site is yours. So this one is the HQIC report, and then following that would be something else.
Let's see what else I have. I have stuff minimized here. Hold on 1 second. Did that change?
Nope, that's the same one.
Hold on a second. I minimized all of them before I got on here. I'm only seeing those 2. Hold on a second.
the other ones, while she's going for them, are the Casper 6-month look back and the MDS submission. And that was very interesting. This one's the all metrics. So in many ways, I'll start, this is good, we'll start here. This is the one I would probably start with because it takes all 24 of those metrics and shows you the big picture, the aggregate look. From here, you would want to then dive a little bit deeper into some of the subsets. So if I was doing this as a table of contents, this would be my page 1. But if you could now then, Arlene, just mention, I just want to mention that we worked pretty hard at making sure that the reports were accurate, especially as you're continuing to move, some of you are moving towards MDS submission data, which is a more current time set of metrics coming out of your MDS and not necessarily taking the Casper 6-month look back. Some of you are doing both. Some of you are stopping using the 6-month look back and only using the MDS submission. And some of you are not doing an MDS submission and just doing the 6-month look back. So the first thing I want you to do when you get these and see these is to just double check and make sure that you're accurately represented. And I know we're looking at the all metric one.
And I wanted to mention that if your data was incomplete, then you won't appear on the report. One of the things that has delayed the reports has not been Margie. She's been anxiously waiting for the quarterly data as the quarter ends. But when there are facilities who have not completed their approving their data or fixed their nulls, we try to give them multiple days of opportunity to get that fixed, which delays ending the quarter. Right now, we should be closing the quarter at December 1st for the third quarter, but it depends if everyone has their data in, which I will go over in a little bit and show you those that still need to get that in. Do you want me to go to the MDS, Margie?
I think that would be good. And then let's open it up for questions.
And I will check the chat window. Feel free to unmute yourself. And also I will check the chat window for questions.
Okay, this one's the 6-month look back. So looks like everybody is still, I know Solvine is the brand new site, but everybody must still be doing the 6-month look back. And let's go to the MDS submission. So here lies a more lengthy list at the bottom where the title says these are facilities recording no data or not enough data to support a 2-quarter trend. Chances are, if your name is in there, you probably did not decide to do MDS submission, or you're too soon in the process to get a full 2 quarters. And that's just what I wanted to make sure to illustrate.
Are there any questions? Does everyone understand the reports and why we went to the this new type of report on the data analytics? And Vicki, do you have
I'd like to just piggyback on that. I was really impressed by your grouping, who decided that the reason that you're looking at data is to focus on improvement more than just focusing on a snapshot of results. So the fact that you are looking at comparing your data to previous quarters and are seeing that kind of improvement really shows that the work that you're doing behind these data points is paying off. And that's where the rubber meets the road, how your staff are being trained, the processes that you put in place to be able to take care of people the way that would bring the best outcomes for you, and trying and erring on different parts of your processes to get that kind of improvement. So congratulations to you for using this kind of report show more about improvement than about simply a snapshot.
Comments and questions? I don't know if everyone's kind of trying to zero in on their facility right now, or if everyone has a good understanding of these new reports. Like I said, it's only the second time you are seeing this new report, and that's why we wanted Margie to be here with us. Pam and Vicki, any comments?
Sorry, I just was able to get on the call. I was having problems, so I'm a little bit off kilter here because I'm not sure what I missed.
Okay. Went over the new, the second quarter reports, and for those who haven't seen them before or don't remember them since we just started using them in 2019, we have Margie on the line to refresh everyone's memory on how the reports work and why we went to these type of reports.
Arlene, I do have one comment. This is Pam Richmond, and that is, if you're on the left side of some of these reports, we would love to be able to connect people directly. And if you would let Arlene know that you'd be willing to be on a contact list to answer peer questions or just to network with your peers, I think that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And we are still trying to put together a small focus group to help facilities with their quality improvement. Vicki, did you want to touch base on that a little more?
Well, I think the whole idea is that, and we know sometimes it's difficult with, turnover and everything else, but our whole thoughts are is if we can look at, like Pam said, the ones that are kind of on that left side that, are meeting benchmark, they're making improvement, that perhaps they can share what's working well for them with others, because our goal really is we want to bring the whole network up. So if somebody's struggling with a quality measure and someone else is really doing very well, it would be nice to kind of share best practices and help bring other people up.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons we went to names versus numbers on CPMT, so that we would be very transparent, and so individual facilities could feel free to reach out for facilities that are doing well for assistance, for best practices and ideas on how they might improve on some of the metrics. It's a very quiet group. No, I'm seeing nothing in the chat window. No one has any questions regarding this? Okay. Well then, Margie, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for these excellent reports. If anyone does have any questions for you after the meeting, I will be sure to get those to you.
Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, moving on the agenda. Next is the contracting committee update. Pam.
All right. Let's start with Anthem. And for Anthem here, they are introducing something new. In addition to the Floor to Sniff program, they are putting together an ER Intercept program. So if one of their patients presents in the ER, but it's more appropriate for them to go to a SNF, you would be allowed to take that patient directly from the ER. And if you're interested in participating in a program like that, please, please let Arlene or Carolyn Roten know that. So they are rolling that out, and your contracting committee representative does have a slide deck that explains the program in a little more depth. On Buckeye, they met with the Pay for Performance initiative. Buckeye is having trouble getting their other quarterly data out that they hope to have. They're pulling data directly from the MDS, but they're having issues with this. So if you haven't heard, if you're in that region and you haven't heard about any payments for the second and third quarter, they are having trouble with that and haven't announced it yet. Molina did add an amendment to continue our enhanced payment. We get an extra percentage to cover bad debt, so that remains in place. And Aetna Better Health, the MyCare component, there's a pay for performance amendment. It was assigned. It will go into effect January 1st. There is a webinar Monday to discuss the program, and that's December 3rd at 2 p.m. So look for that if you're in the Aetna Better Health region. If you don't have it, again, reach out to Arlene or Carolyn to help you. And then we're working on a pay-for-performance contract with UHC. We have countered a proposal they gave us, and we are in wait mode to see what they come back with. It will be an opportunity for any OASN facility that is not currently contracted with UHC but would like to become contracted. That will also be part of this pay-for-performance amendment. And Aetna, they say that their systems have been corrected and they are beginning to reprocess claims, and you do not need to resubmit, but make sure to monitor that. And Carolyn would need feedback if this is not your facility's experience. And MMO, we are trying to get them to talk with us. They're still restructuring, so they're not ready to come back and negotiate the contract yet. And CareSource is CareSource, completely non-responsive to any of our conversation. And there is, if you're in the central region, COPC, a large physician practice. We are sending out that contract for final approval. If you want that contract, if you're in the central region, make sure to make your people aware that that is in process there. It's also in Stark and Summit counties in addition to the counties surrounding Franklin. All right, and then I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Any questions for Pam on any of the contracts? I don't think we've ever had a meeting where there's nothing in the chat window, so feel free to ask questions and comment either in the chat window or by unmuting yourself. We'll move on then, just of respect out of your time. I'm going to log into CPMT because we need to take a look at this. Are you all seeing CPMT? Hopefully. Can someone acknowledge you're seeing the CPMT screen? Yes. Okay, thank you. Yay, nice to have a comment in the chat window. Okay, so we're going to go over to reports and talk about a few things. We always want to look back at our performance for the last month every time we meet. So on the screen, you will be seeing the composite report for OASN, and the last set of data on here is September. So when you take a look at this, you do see that our readmission rate for September is over the benchmark. It's at 11.75. It is close, but it is still a little over the benchmark for our skilled. Our long-term care composite, we have brought that down. You see it's been kind of up and down every month. 90 days readmission skilled, we are below the benchmark, as well as long-term care. Our observation stays, we are above the benchmark here the last 2 months. You can take a look at that. Here, remember, is our benchmark. Here is our performance. That is for your skilled residents. For long-term care residents, for unplanned observation stays, you'll see that we have done very well. Sorry. Apologize for that. That went way too far. For the entire 13 months. Emergency room visits, all cause skilled, we have brought that down nicely below the benchmark the last 2 months. You'll see here, August 1.6, September 1.46. Emergency room long-term visits, those remain up. We have been above the benchmark all year on emergency room visits for our long-term residents, as well as above the benchmark on our hospital admission rate, skilled and long-term care. Looking at our 6-month look back for falls with major injury, that is a measure that we have struggled with, although for September we are down. We have not met the benchmark, but we are down in a better position than we have been before. Looking at the look back on the high-risk pressure ulcers long-term, done very, very nicely on that for the past 13 months. Our UTIs long-term care, we had brought those down very nicely. We are up somewhat September and August. Here is our 6-month look back pressure ulcers. Skilled, those have come down for the last 4 months. This is looking at residents who received antipsychotics skilled. Very nice. All the green is below the benchmark. Our long-term residents antipsychotics, we did take a jump here this month, but we have been down most of the time. Also looking at moderate to severe pain short-term, very good. We have jumped up on that the last 2 months for our long-stay residents. Improvement of function, we are very close to the benchmark here, but we are still above the benchmark right here. If you take a look at this measure, then we have our green for discharge to the community. Also green for residents skilled given the flu vaccine. We are not meeting the benchmark, but close on long-term care given the flu vaccine. And then here's our pneumococcal short-term, which is very good. And then we're just below on pneumococcal long-term. So those are our composite results. Remember, you want to look at your individual results by coming over here, pulling the name of your facility, and looking at your 13-month trend. Now, a couple of things I want to point out today. As I mentioned, we do try to close out the quarter as soon as we can. We should be able to close out the third quarter on December 1st. But I'm going to show you the facilities who have not yet reported and approved their data for September, which you have 2 more days to do that. And this is a long list. It's an unusual list. So please take a close look at this list. And if you are finding your name on this list, it means you have not reported and approved your data for September, and we cannot close the third quarter until you do. So please try to get that in by Friday. Then if we look at the null data, want to make sure everyone is taking a look at this. These are the individuals that need to get their null data in. And remember, on the null data, this report is gathered from approved data. So if you haven't approved your data, you won't be on this report. Once you approve your data, you need to look at this report to see if you missed anything. This tells you exactly what you're missing to go in and fill this. So Concordia is missing this. They need to fill that in. If we scroll down, there's MDS submissions missing, as you'll see them with the name, and then hospitalizations by payer. Remember, you can only send those hospitalizations by payer within the 30 days. So once again, you'll have to hand key them in if you don't get them in Friday. So Maple Knoll Village needs to get the 30 days by payer in, as well as the Renaissance and Eliza Jennings. And that's it on that. But remember, those of you who haven't approved, you're not in here. Now, one of the things that came up that we need to take a look at here is Pam mentioned Buckeye. Buckeye is having difficulty accessing some of the data they need for the pay for performance. So you all know that we collect payer data. The payer data that we collect are readmissions, skilled and long-term care. So if we go here, we can choose Buckeye readmissions. Now here's my concern. I have enough pop-ups coming up here, I apologize. So here's Buckeye Medicare skilled readmission rate. Now if we look at this just for the month of September, we can look at it however we want. And this is what I went to see if we could provide the data for Buckeye on these readmissions for the pay for performance. So when we look at getting this report, according to this report, the only one who had a readmission was Montefiore. So then I took that further and I looked at the data check report. So the data check report will show us who reported their Buckeye data and if they had readmissions, skilled, and how many admissions they had for their denominator. So when I look at this, you see there's all zeros on this report except for Montefiore. Now, I would like to believe, and I hope, that these are accurate. So I went and took it a step further. I looked at those who are hand keying in. I looked at those who are submitting from the campaign hospitalization tracking tool using the submit payer button. Then I looked to see, I went back all year to see if any of these numbers ever changed on you. And I did discover that the majority of all of you, these numbers will change month by month. You may not have a Buckeye readmission in September, but maybe you had one in August or July or June. So that's good because I found that that kind of verifies that you just don't have zeros all the time, so there could be something wrong. But one of the things that I need you to check is on your hospitalization tracking tools, you all have written the payers that we collect for the quality program. And here they are. You have regular Medicare, you have Aetna, Aetna Better Health, Anthem, Buckeye, CareSource, Humana, Medical Mutual, Molina, and United Healthcare. So those are written. I was pretty much able to be relatively sure that all of you have those written on your hospitalization tracking tool. But what I need you to check, if you are not the person on this call who completes the hospitalization tracking tool, I need you to check to make sure whoever's completing it in that drop-down list, that they're actually making sure when they choose the resident, they choose the correct payer. Because remember, when you fill out that transfer log, the first thing that drops down is regular Medicare fee for service. So if they're clicking on Betty Smith, and then they're clicking on Betty's payer, and they're clicking the first thing that comes down, that's the regular Medicare fee for service. They need to be sure that they're collecting the correct payer for for every resident that they transfer and admit. And I want to make sure that makes sense to everyone. So I think it's time to do a double check, because Buckeye, for one, is asking for this data. And we want to be sure that this data that we're going to give them is correct. So I've looked at all the things I can look at from my end, but I need all of you to make sure in your facility that you have all the payers and that the correct payers are being reported. Now you can also go in here and you can select your facility and do that same data check report, and you can change the month. So you have different ways of checking your facility against your census and your readmissions. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make sense, Pam and Vicki?
It makes sense to me.
Sorry, me too. I have to keep remembering to take you off of mute. So yeah, I agree. It makes sense to me.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that? It's just as we get into more pay for performance contracts, and if we're collecting data on the payers and we have it, it's very likely they want it. The other thing that I use it for is when they give us a report. It's hard to match that report that they give us, but I go in to see if there's anything that looks way off based on what you reported. Such as if they said Montefiore had 7 admissions and 6 went back, and I see there was only 2, that's a red flag. And if you're on the phone, I may have already contacted you some of the time on that. So this isn't just about reporting data and improving quality. We're actually being more actively involved in using this data with the payers. And I did not want to give this data to Buckeye yet until you all had a chance to check your Buckeye data. So will you all check your Buckeye data for 2018 so that I can give them these figures? Those of you who have Buckeye that are on the call. Do I get a yes? Okay, some of you are saying you will go back and check it. We really appreciate it. And I hope you understand why it is just so critical. The timing of us getting the data is critical. The methodology of collecting it is critical. And reporting the accuracy of the data is so critical and will become even more and more important as they're asking for what we have and not going out to look for it themselves. So I will probably give everybody probably a week or so. I'll see what Carolyn wants to do and then give this to Buckeye. Let's see what's in the chat window. Any comments or questions? Thank you for everyone who's saying they will go back and check and make sure their payer data is accurate. Yeah, like I said, it's not an intent of anyone to have inaccurate data. It's just a matter that this is a drop-down list, and when you click on that, I just had the hospitalization tracking tool training session this morning that I gave. The first one, when you click that button, is regular Medicare fee-for-service. And there's no zeros in regular, very few, if any, zeros on your data check for that. But it'd be so easy just to click on that button and the first one that pops up populates, rather than make sure that it's actually the payer of that resident. And I know no one's doing it on purpose. It's just the way the program is set up. Any questions at all about CPMT, looking at your results, getting your data in? Every month there are people who do not get their data in by the deadline. Then they try to submit their payer data and they can't submit it because it rolls to the next month. Remember, you have to get it in within that month. And today's the 28th, so you only have 2 days to complete this data. Also remember, I wanted to remind you that your hospitalization tracking tool spreadsheet is used for 12 months. You will get directions on how to bridge from 2018 to 2019. I haven't looked to see if those came out yet, but everyone will need to do that. And every year there's a percent of people who carry on without bridging and have to go back and fix the whole thing. So I thought it would be a good time to remind everybody that that tool will need to be bridged into 2019, which will be here before we know it. Also, at this time, I wanted to point out that we are not having our quality committee meeting in December. You actually don't have it on your calendar for December because we, the last couple meetings, we usually have to schedule around Thanksgiving and Christmas and any other holidays that are on the calendar. So we usually don't put those on calendar invites. So you will be getting new calendar invites beginning January 2019. The other thing is this day and time working well for everyone, which is the fourth Wednesday of every month at 2 o'clock. It seems to be working well. We're getting excellent attendance. Is there any feedback on that? Because if there's no need to change, I will go ahead and set the meetings up for 2019. Works great for me. Thank you. I have a message in here. Is this call recorded for my team to hear? Absolutely. This call is recorded. Once it's converted, because I have to convert it, I send it to Joanne Formal, who manages the website for OASN. Joanne then posts it in the members section of the OASN website. So you can access it there. It is too big to email. That's one of the reasons we put all of this data there. I think we can go back to the agenda, which I believe we have taken care of everything on the agenda today. I apologize for this format. Will we be discussing points 4E and 4F? Okay, sure, that's right here what she's pointing out. Need to complete a root cause analysis for all readmissions. Remember that we're collecting this data on unplanned readmissions, not planned. So whenever you have an unplanned readmission, you need to complete a root cause analysis to view what happened that caused that resident to be transferred to the hospital. We realize that many transfers are unavoidable, and what we're looking for here is, was something avoidable that you can put in place and make changes within your organization and quality improvement so the next time something like that happens, you don't have to transfer that person to the hospital. That could be so many different things. It could be an infection that was occurring that you weren't able to stay on top of, and so that got out of hand and they had to be transferred. It could be they needed a catheter and you don't have the right size and theirs was backed up, so you need to have stock in place. It could be a staffing issue that maybe your staff, that was at the facility is maybe not high enough skilled to feel comfortable with what was happening with the resident. Intervention started too late. It could be an advanced directive issue. There could be multiple issues. And so you always need to be doing a root cause analysis on any unplanned readmissions that you have. And then F is facilities need to implement quality improvement for all measures not meeting the benchmarks. This is where every month you look at your results. And if you see that you are not meeting the benchmark, you need to analyze that and put in quality improvement measures to meet those benchmarks, because all of the data goes together, as we know, as one composite. So you have your individual, which make up the composite. That is one of the reasons we went to names in CPMT rather than numbers. So you can look and say, you know, I'm struggling with UTIs. I see these facilities are doing excellent with UTIs. I'm going to give them a call and see if they have some recommendations for me, some best practices. Pam and Vicki, anything else you want to say about E and F or anything else that we discussed?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Now, I have a question in the chat room. Can we go over the bridging process again? Yes. Hospitalization tracking tool is only used for 12 calendar months. Then it bridges to a new tool. And every year with CMS and the campaign, they may make some changes to the tool. So in December, before you enter your January data, you need to bridge your tool to the newest version in 2019. Now, what the campaign does is they give you step-by-step directions on how to do that. So I will be watching for that to go up. And I can tell you, even though I was on there multiple times this week, I haven't looked yet. But when that goes up, I will either copy you the link or let you know that that is in there so that you can prepare for 2019. Because what happens is if you don't and you continue on the old tool, it's not going to work properly. And if you have specific questions on that, feel free to reach out to me with specific questions or comments on anything. That's what I'm here for. Just checking the chat window here. And that is all we had for today. If there's no other comments and questions, I know it's been about almost 50 minutes, and we try to make sure to not go over an hour unless absolutely necessary out of respect of your time. We did go over the recording of the meeting. We do want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And we will resume these meetings of the Quality Committee for OASN in January. Any closing remarks, Pam or Vicki, or anyone else?
Happy holidays from me.
Oh, and myself as well. Have a great one.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.